Good afternoon, good evening, depending on which part of the world you're joining us and will be watching us later on YouTube. This is the very first roundtable of RISE PECOWorld Summit 2026. It's also the first roundtable of the Beyond series that will be happening every day immediately after the thematic plenary every single day. And beyond, why? Because I think we all need to think beyond, think deeper, think wider, right? We are so used to thinking so fast on our feet and take pride with it that sometimes we forget that we really need the depth that is required for us to really get something right. And so this is the first series. The topic today is this amazing issue that we all grapple with all the time, right? Money. We've heard the statement, money makes the world go round. But we also hear this, you cannot eat money, right? And so what is this roundtable going to tell us, and what are we going to be doing? So good morning again, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Kiran Shaiva, the convener of RISE PECOWorld Summit, and so proud to have with me some amazing speakers, thought leaders who have excelled in their field and done amazing work, and here to share with us not just their knowledge and experience, which of course they will, but their wisdom, the wisdom that comes from thinking beyond, thinking deeper. And so to get us started today on this roundtable on Beyond Financial Wealth, creating intergenerational wealth for our future generations, right? Human capital, social capital, natural capital, and physical capital. I'm going to invite Mr. Sarabjit Singh Sahota, the Chief of Disaster Risk Reduction at UNICEF India, to really get us started with understanding why are we going to have this conversation and what, hopefully, are we going to go with that. So Sarabjit, may I please welcome you and ask you to get us started on. Sarabjit, you're on mute.
Thank you, Karen. When we talk about intergenerational wealth, our mind naturally, as you said, drifts to material assets and resources. But history, because I work on disasters, I can tell you very clearly that history shows that material wealth alone is fragile. It can be swept away by systemic risks. It is fragile. Or it can get fragmented when a generation inherits abundance without inheriting the responsibility of care. So if resources are to be passed on, governance is the living landscape for that sustains it. So today, I'll talk a little bit about this, what we call Pran Shakti of everything, the governance. So true governance is far from the red tape, which we normally know, the administrative red tape. It is an architecture of care. I want to look at governance as a tool for resilience, operating at two vital extremes, the macro and the micro. At the macro level, governance is about institutional stability and equity. When global entities and governments establish transparent systems, predictable systems, they protect communities from systemic risk. But the systemic structures by themselves are only part of half of the equation. At the micro level lies self-governance, the governance at the family level, at the society level. This is the internal discipline and the core value passed down from one generation to the next. It ensures that shared resources are managed with humility, of stewardship, rather than consumed as entitlements. To understand this macro micro idea of governance, uh, how high level systems and personal ethics must align, we can look at two powerful examples, uh, one national and one deeply local. First, Japan. Japan demonstrates that this on a national scale. The state provides a stable macro structure of wonderful infrastructure and strict rule of law. But this only works because it is matched by a micro bridge of profound personal ethics. The culture of, in Japanese, they call it wa. In India also we call it, we have the expression wa, but this wa is for harmony. We have seen Japanese citizens clean the stadiums after sporting events. Heavy. We have impeccable record of return of lost wallets in Japan, large number. And from my own experience, I can tell you that when the devastating 2011 tsunami hit Japan, there was no widespread looting, as is common in many parts of the world. During that tsunami, the macro system bent, but it didn't break because the micro governance and the internal discipline of the citizens clicked instantly into place to fill the dent which was created by the tsunami. Second example is our own very local, on a localized scale, we see this in India's decentralized village republic, or what we call panchayat. The National Constitution of India provides macro structure for devolution of funds and powers to the villages or cluster of villages. They operate at the local level. But the real magic happens at the micro level through the village council or Gram Sabha. In the resilient village, the list of resilient villages is fairly long. I'm just naming one of them, the Hivre Bazaar. Community leaders use traditional wisdom and personal ethics to manage water and other natural resources. They don't wait for external help during drought. Their internal stewardship creates a self sustaining ecosystem. This proverbial last mile uh, can become the first mile through local governance, through effective local governance, matched by impeccable personal ethics of the leaders. So ultimately, both examples from, excuse me, from Japan as well as Hivrebajar confirm that when all pervasive systems, the governance systems, and the people within it are tuned together, society stops operating in survival mode. They start building legacy. And that's the intergenerational wealth. Thank you.
So beautifully put, right from a panchayat in a village to Japan. I think you have, really spread that entire concept of what does intergenerational wealth mean. Wealth which does not wait for finance. And I think, I will talk more about it, and obviously with all our other experts who are going to be on the table. And if we can just share that who are there on the table, so we can quickly let the other participants also know and get a quick insight, and then I can start the way the roundtable flows. So the way we do the roundtable at the RISE PECOWorld Summit is really where we don't go around doing major introductions or profiles. You'll see that in the chat box, and so please do keep an eye on the chat box. Also, please don't hesitate to put your questions and thoughts in it as the conversation is flowing, because the way we're going to do this is really to talk more first from a challenge perspective. And why challenges? Because that's what you want to solve, right? Right. So if that's what is the focus, I think we go from there to really look at then what are the possibilities that are there, what are the kind of capabilities that exist in the ecosystem, and then finally, obviously, what the whole purpose is to explore is there opportunity for collaboration? Can we really do things together to really solve this problem? And that's really the arc of the conversation that we're going to have in this roundtable. And of course, everybody is welcome to this, right? While our experts are here to give us their wisdom, as I said earlier, every voice counts. Yeah. And so please don't hesitate to join the conversation. It's not just one person speaking at a time. This is not a panel, right? So it's a RISE roundtable, as I keep mentioning this. So please do come in, right? So I think to get us started, and talking about the challenges that we spoke about, I'm going to ask. Can we have the poster for the session, please, so that I can just very quickly mention the names of all our experts, and our participants can also see that as we have it over here very quickly. Yes, yeah. So we have with us on the roundtable, Shilpa Ajwani, who has done some amazing work with the SHEmantra community, and is herself a founder of Unomantra. And we'll talk more about, and she will of course share more about how she has built a human capital as well as social capital. We also have with us Percy Gaswala, who's the founder, trustee of Gaswala Vision Foundation, and again who has built this amazing network to take care of vision, a problem that is so basic and yet so neglected in many ways. And he's going to talk about this. Sarabjit mentioned about disaster, and so Omkar, who has been part of the disaster ecosystem for many years, okay, and is now the director of public sector and partnership at the Resilience AI Solution organization, will of course tell us more. And we have Francis, who is from Singapore, who's got an amazing arc that covers all the assets, in fact, if I might say so, Francis, okay, because of the kind of work that he's done in different parts of the world with different profiles, diverse stakeholders, and as I said, with different capital forms and asset formation projects. And last but not the least, okay, we have with us Mritunjay Sharma, who's from the United Nations Environmental Program and is a deadbeat, okay? AI, right? We all talk about AI all the time. And he's going to talk about how the digital transformation is a completely different asset generation program, and how is that going to change the world. So as you can see, very diverse set of, thought leaders that we have here. And of course, diverse people in the room right now with us. So we are hoping that we are going to be able to get a lot of, insights across different kind of experiences and situations, so that we go back understanding what does it really mean to build beyond financial capital, create intergenerational wealth, and look at the formation of human, social, physical, and natural capital. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to ask Percy, because, Percy, I think you are probably one of the persons who deals with the maximum amount of challenges, working as you do with a kind of structure, even though you are an NGO, how you have structured it extremely different from a typical CSR funded NGO. So over to you to take out whatever angst you might have. Yeah, this is your chance to do that. Go for it, Percy. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are lots of leads that I happen to get from Sarabjit, and in
Percy,
fact,
you suddenly lost your video.
I don't know what happened to my video.
Can you try from the other one otherwise? Because you are in from.
Host has disabled me. Oh.
Can someone please enable in that case?
Please enable me.
No, we're asking you to start video. Yes, finally. Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm back.
Yes, you're back. Absolutely back. So go for it. Yeah.
Yes. So this was the first example of enabling.
And it needs partnership to enable it, right? You can't do it alone.
And it needs partnerships to enable. You just can't enable things yourself.
So true. Yeah.
So I will stick to vision and site restoration, because the model itself is based on the basis that the resources are all available. How do you optimize those resources without, uh, you know, creating new verticals and silos and whatever? So we looked at the models which are in existence, and most of the time you will notice one large eye care center in some location, whether it's Hyderabad, Delhi, Chennai, Madurai, wherever. Now, even those guys have realized that you will not reach the unreached unless you have that dissipated model. So we started the other way around, thinking that let's use resources instead of building some, huge monument, or as they call it, center of excellence. Let's just use whatever is there. And it does take a while to explain to people what we are, what we do, because they start by asking, "Are you a doctor?" I said, "No, I'm a PhD dropout." So that is one big feather I have. Then they say, "Do you have a clinic?" I said, "No, we don't have a clinic." So that's also fantastic news for them. And they say, "Okay, you don't even have a hospital. You don't even have an office. Okay, so what do you do?" So these are some of the blatant challenges, questions that we keep facing time and again. But the idea is that can you bring value to the table with existing resources, minimum resources? And again, you go back to what Karen says, that we have to move from I to we to us to ours. So this ultimate goal is the hours goal, where we simply cross-link all the stakeholders, okay, the ones who get along, the ones who don't get along, and make sure that it turns into an ecosystem which ultimately provides vision, and vision to the bottom of the pyramid. Our focus has been bottom of the pyramid. We do run an advisory for the wealthy patients also, but bottom of the pyramid faces umpteen challenges. Just give you an example off the hat. Most people have heard of cataract surgeries, and most people have heard of eye camps, and eye camps are done routinely. But when a patient has something besides cataract, he's driven away. They say, "No, no, no, this is too expensive. We are not going, this is not included in the camp." So nobody, absolutely, there is no agency that funds either your vitreoretinal injections, or you have squint or pterygium, and we work across roughly 14, 15 different verticals which restore vision. And some of the most difficult verticals is where, I repeat, stop children from going blind. This is one of the most important verticals we work in, and this is in a place like Bihar, because their children are born with congenital glaucoma. It takes a lot of resources, and there's always some kid who we know will go blind. So can we change that? Now you're changing, it's a complete transformational change, because you know the child will go blind unless there is intervention. And there are some who beg, borrow, steal. They somehow find the resources to restore vision, and some don't. So that's when we step in. So these are some of those instances where, networking or, collaborating is absolutely crucial. At the same time, I think Sarabjit again mentioned that, there is a level of ethics, there is a level of expertise, and there are a couple of, I would say, good qualities which are essential to ensure that you are putting value to the table. Because if corruption seeps in, which is almost all pervasive today, you are actually depleting value.
Absolutely.
The system is right there, but somewhere or the other, you are kind of, pulling the, slipping the rug off the feet. So I think that is where we need to build those robust systems which are transparent, accountable, ethical, and yeah, we are hoping to make sure that we are in places where there is very little eye care.
Very nice.
That
So
is the model.
So, Percy, you said it jokingly, but honestly, it's such an important point you made that in partnerships, sometimes people don't want to partner with everybody. Why? Because they have certain criteria, right? One first challenge is that we have these perceptions of who we want to partner with. We want to partner with big names. We want to partner with people who are well funded. We want to partner with people who are well resourced, right? Whereas what you said, and also good designations and new great qualifications, and as you said, very proud to be a PhD dropout. So I guess the first challenge with partnership is perception, right? Do you have a hospital? What do you have? Like, if you don't have the right kind of assets, right, which kind of correlate with financial
Prototyped assets. Prototyped assets. Yeah, they are
exactly,
called
right?
prototyped assets. Oh, you don't have this? Oh, then sorry, the marriage won't happen.
Dowry, yeah.
दहेज में क्या लाए हो?
Exactly, right. So I think that's a big challenge that you brought out, where, even in a humorous tone, that what is our perception and mindset when we want to identify partners? Are we looking to get resourced by that partner? Is that the only criteria, or then what, right? So let me bring in Francis, because, Francis Lilleman from Singapore, as I said earlier, he has, like I said, traversed multiple geographies, working with very diverse stakeholders. So, Francis, what do you make of what Percy just mentioned in terms of, how do we view partnership? What are the challenges in bringing people together to work together and obviously create capital, which is beyond financial capital? Over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Karen, and thank you for having me. It's a joy, and good afternoon, everybody. I have been listening like absolutely flabbergasted, and I've been pinned to my chair by the two previous guests around the table, and I can never match the quality of what they have contributed. So I would like to share with you. First of all, what has stuck with me from what Sarabjit has shared, is this interplay that we need to have between what Sarabjit called a macro level and a micro level. Yeah. And then later in his introduction, he spoke of macro level, and he spoke of personal ethics. Yeah. So you can have an institutionalized structural framework, but any structural framework will collapse by the lack of the necessary personal individual ethics. That because it's the individual ethics that co-create a collective ecosystem. And a collective ecosystem can only exist on the basis of an ethical form of symbiosis. Like symbiosis is a natural phenomenon, right? You have many different species living on one piece of trunk of a tree. You can just isolate 10 square centimeter and then look at this and see what kind of species live together in a mutual symbiotic system. Yeah, for me, this is the image of collaboration. Yeah? But this in a human shape can only exist at the grace of this level of personal ethics. Yeah? So this is the main thing that I took from Sarabjit, and that I would like to elaborate on by illustrating this with some personal stories, maybe. From Percy, I took the phrase "reaching the unreached." Yeah, this is a very beautiful expression of our mission. This is basically what we need to do. With all due respect, and Karen is doing fantastic work with RISE and PECO. Yeah, but look at us. We are a bunch of privileged people sitting together. Yeah, and the people that we have in mind as the ones that we are here to be in service of are not here. they are absent from the round table. Yeah. I've been struggling with this for my entire life, Percy, yeah, with this question. Yeah. And I recognize your stories about the glaucomas in Bihar. I have worked a lot in Bihar with marginalized communities, and they were the unreachable. Not only were they unreachable, they were also unwanted to be reached. And by the same token, they were also unwelcome to the reach outers.
So true.
They were not always so happy to see us, you know. They were not always so happy to see people who come there and then propose a format that will solve their problems, you know.
Right.
So these are really, really deep challenges that we need to cover. For me, Karen, when we speak of intergenerational wealth, I think of three things. Yeah, that's my personal take on this. I'm far from being so professionally backgrounded as Percy and Sarabjit. I just have three common words. You know, first is story. Yeah. Second is tree, and third is compassion. Yeah. Let me quickly illustrate what I mean. Yeah. Story is we will never build intergenerational wealth if we accept the ongoing loss of story. Mm-hmm. And with loss of story, I do not mean merely the stories that used to be told by grandmothers to grandchildren, and so on and so on. We all know this parampara, in Katha parampara. Yeah? Yes. That's basically what it is, a chain of propelled stories forward. Yeah, but the world has changed a lot. So these stories, although they are in danger, it's not just about them being endangered. They are endangered by, smartphones and TikTok and probably not in India, TikTok, I don't know. But anyway, likely things. Yeah. So stories are being replaced very soon by AI slop.
Yes.
Yeah. And in the new world, grannies are going to be more and more no longer living in families, but being placed in
right. Sure.
In condominiums. Yeah, let's say. Yeah. So the story gets lost, but it's not just this story. What we need today is not just intergenerational stories, but we need intercultural stories. This is why I loved so much that subject. All of a sudden mentioned the concept wa. Yeah. Japanese idea for harmony. Yeah, and this enormous level of Japanese personal ethics. Yeah, this is based on story.
True.
Based on story, so we can grab stories from anywhere.
Absolutely.
Karen, I don't belong in any particular place. I'm a global citizen. If there's a place where I feel that I belong, it's mostly in India. But what I've spent most of my life in India. But anyway, we need stories from anywhere. Yeah, that's story. Yeah, and then my second word was tree. Because to create intergenerational wealth, we need to plant trees, literally. I mean this very literally. Yeah. And the best moment to plant a tree was 10 years ago. So we are already 10 years late. Yeah. Every tree that we plant today is 10 years late. Because the best time was 10 years ago. And next year, the best time will again be 10 years ago. Because what we need is big trees. We don't need small trees, we need big trees. And who will profit from the wealth of the big trees? Our children. Sadly, what you see around us, even here in Singapore, is trees are being chopped chopped down by the thousands, by the millions, year after year after year. Landscape is being eroded, and all the financial wealth that we built will become completely senseless when seen in the context of what I call the absence of trees, but just a small set of this. You know what I mean about what I mean is environmental protection. In the days that I worked in Bihar with these very marginalized communities, the problem was also the absence of trees. When there is in a village not one shady tree, you can't have a classroom, because a school doesn't need a building, it needs a banyan tree. That's what it needs.
Example, beautiful example. You don't need money to build a school. You need a banyan tree to sit underneath and read. Fantastic, fantastic.
My third word, very quickly, is compassion. Yeah, and with compassion I mean kindfulness. And this we need to reach the unreached, because if you don't care for them, the word care has fallen. If we don't have care, if we do not have care for people because they are different, they are of a different caste, or they are of no caste whatsoever, or they belong to other communities that are not ours, and we stop caring, then everything falls apart as well. So these are the three pillars for me of intergenerational wealth.
Thank you so much, Francis. And I think I just want to clarify two things. One is, you're so right. Most of the models that we have, we say human-centric, we say, community focused, and all those words are used, and we just put them in the middle of a diagram with circles around it, and that becomes human-centric. That's not really human-centric, right? What you rightly said. So the PECO model, the citizen in the PECO model is actually that. The citizen is those who have the ground experience, the lived experience, the knowledge, the information that needs to be brought into the ecosystem, and that's the important role they play. So they have a very key role within the model itself. It's not outside of it. That's number one. So 100% I'm with you on that. The second is, as far as the RISE PECOWorld Summit is concerned, we had almost thought of having it only online this time because like we said, we really put this together in less than a month and a half. But then we realized that, there'll be many people who will not be able to be a part of it because they are not there is a technology divide. Let's be honest about it, right? So how do we make sure that they are still a part of it? So all our offline events that are happening. In fact, there is a library that's going to be inaugurated right today itself in Mankod, which is those of us who are familiar with Bombay, is one of the largest slums. It's part of one of the largest slums. So there is a lot of work happening with community as we speak right now, right through the World Summit, just because we want them to be a part of what we are doing. We may not always be, and I think that's part of ecosystem interaction and dynamics. You may not be part of every single part of the ecosystem, but if you ensure that every part of the ecosystem is involved or is engaged, then I think, you're moving in the right direction, right? And you're evolving that relationship to make sure that they feel part of the ecosystem and not feel like they're being neglected or unwanted, as you rightly said, Francis. So I just wanted to add that and share, because that is a very real challenge. And we have kept that challenge in mind while designing the PECO model and the RISE PECOWorld Summit as well in terms of its programming. So thank you for raising that and giving me an opportunity to share that. Yeah. So I think we spoke a little bit about challenges, and I'm going to now talk about capabilities, because as we've already had examples that we can do so much even if we are not looking at finance to be the driving force, or not because someone has given us the money to do it. We do it because we believe that these assets are what is required for the long term, for the ecosystem, because it's required for humanity. And one example of that, great example of that, I would add, is actually Shilpa Ajwani. Yeah. So Shilpa, I'm going to ask you to come in and share with us the magic of SHEmantra that you have been able to bring together and literally, create wealth that cannot be measured. Priceless, as the ad goes. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Karen. And what a beautiful morning this is turning out for me personally. I feel so enriched just listening to all the speakers before me. So I'll begin with, what I really think about when I think about intergenerational wealth transfer, Karen. And that is very much related to the birth of SHEmantra as I now connect the dots backwards, right? And I'll tell that story in a bit. So for me, I think the core essence of intergenerational wealth transfer is not the transfer of mere financial assets, but it is the transfer of capability. Capability to create value much more than what you've inherited, right? It is also the character that you need, and previous speakers have highlighted that you need to have the humility, you need to have the sense of responsibility, you need to have that sense of ethics to hold what you have inherited. Otherwise, you can be given the best in the world, but you will squander that away in no time, right? And the third C really is connection. Deep connection, realizing our interdependence, right? Symbiosis, as Francis beautifully put it. The sense of unity, which is such an important concept in Indian culture, our traditions, right? We are not different from the other. We are all deeply, deeply connected. And when I think about that, what we need to really answer in everything that we do is that are we extracting value from our future generations? Or are we creating value for our future generations?
So true. Such an important point.
Right? And that goes across everything we think, we say, we do. And if we just constantly keep that question at the back of our mind, I think it gives a really purpose-led lens to how we would, just be and not just do.
Yeah.
Because it starts from being, and that being then relates to doing, right? So for me, I think the birth of SHEmantra was more like a calling. And SHEmantra was born in July 2020, right in the midst of the lockdown, where we were busy for the first time in our lives, looking around, the four walls of our homes, where we were locked in. And I used to look outside of the window to see the pigeons and the sparrows flying, and myself, locked in, and that desperation.
Yeah. What a beautiful.
And for me, that was just a visual reckoning of where are we today as a race.
Yeah.
What have we just done to ourselves?
Right.
And as I was supporting a lot of business leaders, entrepreneurs as part of my work at Unomantra, to not just look at survival, but to also look at, is there a way to thrive from this adversity? What really struck me was that we have a lot of women who have been erstwhile leaders in the corporate. Right? A lot of them chose to make second careers as coaches, consultants, counselors. But what they were doing instead at that point in time, the more I spoke to many, was cooking, cleaning, and caregiving. And it really started with the simple thought, can we get the C's in the right order again? The cooking, cleaning, caregiving, of course, is a must, but we cannot let go of this human potential sitting in so many homes across the world today, when the world does need more coaches, more consultants, more counselors. We are going through a crazy time in this lockdown. So how do we actually harness this tremendous resource? And that's why SHEmantra was born, in the service of women entrepreneurs, bringing them together to give them a safe space so that they can add value to themselves as human beings, and together we can become enablers and raise the consciousness on this planet and impact the world to become a better place, right? So the deeper purpose of SHEmantra really is to foster a world where all can thrive together. And we do that, and I think the start was really about working at the intersection of human capital and social capital, right? But over the years, SHEmantra will be 6 this July, right? Beautifully so. We are more than 800 SHEmantras in more than 15 countries across the world, doing some amazing work individually and together. So the more I see it today is that SHEmantra is anchored by this purpose right in the center. And we are working at the intersection of course, continuing to harness the human potential, the human capital side of it, looking at building capabilities, skills, well-being of the community, and through them, their families, their clients, the larger world outside. We are looking at harnessing and building social capital through trusted relationships today, which is actually converting to beautiful collaborations based on trust, right? We are also looking at building financial capital, but with a difference. The financial capital is not the end all. It comes from a sense of abundance, that connectedness, the fact that I can manifest a reality that is beautiful. And there is enough for everyone, provided we are willing to share.
Absolutely.
Right? We're also now building physical capital through the knowledge systems that we are developing, platforms where we are looking at how can AI be used, to amplify human potential rather than replace it. Right. And last but not the least, really also looking at natural capital building by, looking at rekindling our human connection with self and nature.
So nice.
Micro communities like She Heals, She Manifests, right? So through, this whole, all of these actually coming together in a way that there is a real red thread. I think we are not forcing impact, but we are actually creating consciousness. That if we were to just see this as a way to be, how much more beautiful would be that world where we will all thrive together.
So true, so true. And you covered that arc so beautifully. You started with looking at it more from a human and social capital, but by focusing on building the capacity and building this human and social capital, asset accumulation, you've actually ended up making physical and natural capital as well coming through, and financial capital. So I think that's really the key of this conversation, right? That it's not that we don't need financial capital. It's not that we should not look at financial capital. Of course we can. But the question is, how are you building that capital, and what is happening in the process of building financial capital, right? Are you doing it at the cost of the human and social capital, or is it vice versa, that you're using social and human capital in a very harmonious way to build financial, physical, and natural capital? So I think that was really beautifully put, Shilpa. And thank you so much, because I think you gave me a beautiful segue into the AI and digital transformation, because physical assets come when people come together and decide to do things, building of physical, and of course natural capital is a must, but also then building physical capital becomes very, very important. And I think from that infrastructure point, I'm going to invite Mritunjay to join us from the United Nations Environmental Program to please tell us what is going to be our world all about with AI literally sweeping across the world and everybody's both imagination as well as lifestyle. So Mritunjay, over to you, please.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So first of all, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So it's been great really hearing about, first of all, the value of trees. Yeah, because I do love trees a lot. Yeah, that's for sure. Working in the environment program, you have to love trees. But if I were to understand, first of all, what intergenerational wealth means, so I'm taking a step back, and it's both usually what we want to leave for the future generations, or also something that will help the future generations build something for themselves. So it could both be the final product or the raw materials for the final product. Now, in that regard, when I'm speaking about digital transformation, so the way it has affected, I think it connects to all of the type of capitals that kind of we have had our conversations until now. So it's because it's humans who have created AI. It's us. So the human capital has created AI. But then AI, it strengthens social capital because it connects everyone, it democratizes information, and so on. It creates an abundance of intelligence. Then the social capital, it kind of determines who gets access to the physical capital. So if you see now, AI is being used for energy optimization, for for doing deep sea explorations, for estimating where you can have mines or so on, where the natural resources are or so on. So then the social capital helps understand who gets the physical capital. And the natural, and in that regard, the natural capital also is measurable and manageable and through the use of AI. So recently we did an event at the AI Summit about AI for resilience, where the topic was not only predictions, because usually when people say AI is used for prediction, the objective should be going a step beyond and protecting using the use of AI. So it's taking care of the natural capital. So I think the biggest wealth creators in the future would be those who can connect all of these dots. And that's my understanding, yes. That those who can connect. So the AI is like an orchestrator. It is not something which, you can, it's a tool, because at UNEP, we kind of, so the word has been so, it has only two kind of, just an artificial intelligence are just two words, but it encompasses so much. So it's a tool, if applied across the spectrum, enables people to create value and then accordingly transfer wealth. In that context, a new form of wealth is information. But more than that, since information and intelligence is now abundant, wisdom has become scarce. So the future generations could focus, and in fact, people ask me that, with the use of AI, so even my own boss and people in my team, they are scared that we are getting dumber if we keep using AI. On that context, I have shared a lot of thoughts and critique on this, that if you use it just as a means, so you have to be really careful, and that's where the governance aspects of AI, and they come into being, that you need to have a human in the loop. You need to be respectful of how to use AI. Do not take the information at face value and so on. So that's a long discussion. But in short, our wisdom would be scarce now. And that is what, if we focus on, it will be a great wealth that can be transferred on. And wisdom, as rightly said by the first speaker, whom I had the chance to hear about stories, and that comes to stories. So absolutely, and that's my take on AI. Now, please, thank you.
Thank you, Mritunjay. I think, as Shilpa said, are we extracting from our future generations, or are we creating value for our future generation?
Absolutely.
And I think you've linked that arc so beautifully, that AI is definitely something that is going to be an intergenerational, issue. If we don't take care of it well and properly today, it can impact the future world. But on the same way, if we use it properly today for the right reasons, building the right kind of capital with it, then we are going to be able to contribute something valuable and create a legacy for future generations. So thank you very much for sharing that. I have Dr. Ela Deria from on the table, who says, talks about that industries who are financially strong support NGOs who are financially strong. So if I could just have Dr. Ela also on screen, please, would be really great, because I think it's so correct, right? That and it kind of alludes to what Percy said right at the beginning, that we tend to partner only with people who seem to be like us, or who seem to be as strong as us. We don't want to partner with someone who perhaps needs us, right? We want to partner with someone who can give us, right? And that's what, if you see the PecoWorld platform on the GoTo exchange, it's give and take. That can we give and can we take? Both should happen at the same time. It's not a one-way relationship that I will only keep giving, because how long will you keep doing that? And it's also not just about receiving. Everybody has something to give and everybody has something to take. So Dr. Ela, would you like to say a few words about what your thought is on this? We're really happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Karen. And I really have a lot of respect for all the earlier speakers who have shared their thoughts very honestly. The one point that I would like to say is that my 30 years of experience in social work and 3 years where I've built my own foundation, I can see the difference in the support system that we receive. The 30-year-old is looked at as a safety net where everybody wants to cling to it. There is no question, no ask, no nothing. It's just the basic trust that flows. But when you have a 3-year-old foundation, you have to struggle a lot. And I feel, when will this cycle stop? Because
Right.
how long can an organization take to get support from senior organizations, especially the industry? I'm referring to CSR and all that. So
Right.
I don't know. I have my question to the
Yeah,
speakers
yeah,
also, and to Karen, to you also.
yeah.
What do you think about it?
No, I think, Ela, what my thoughts are on that, right? That the funds go to the same people, the awards go to the same people, the projects go to the same people. The risk, nobody's willing to take any risk, number one. And number two is, everybody wants to see a pedigree before they will even partner with you. And that's the biggest challenge to partnerships, right? That's what we're talking about today, right? That's the biggest. We don't tend to look and see what are the other benefits that are there to partner with people who are on the ground, who have the knowledge, who have the insights, who have the lived experience, right? How much more stronger would your project be when you work with those kind of NGOs? And that does not happen because, like you said, if you are 30-year-old, you have a track record, you have everything. But if you're small, then people are not going to join you, right? So I think it's a sad fact. And that's what we're trying to break, the stereotypes that, how do we spread? How do we look at it ecosystem?
It's become a trend to be connected with brands.
Yes.
Even the NGOs have created their own branding, and therefore, the story continues.
Yeah.
And I think I really congratulate you, Karen, for bringing such eminent speakers with such honest thoughts who have shared their thoughts.
Absolutely.
I really congratulate you for that.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Dr.
Everybody is resonating with it, but I don't know how this cycle will really
We
stop.
will have to keep working together, and that's the only way we are going to break these stereotypes, these biases, and these old patterns of support, right? So thank you so much. I'm next going to bring in Omkar to talk to us about opportunities for collaboration, because I think he's the one person who has really seen how, at the time of disaster, I think money, yes, is important, but perhaps a cycle, a room, or food, these are the things we need. And sometimes money can't even buy that at that time. And I think, one of the things I had famously said during the pandemic was, in the first phase, we had solutions, but we had no money. And the second phase, we had a lot of money, because by then people were pouring money into pandemic projects, but we did not have solution. And I'm talking of oxygen, something as basic as air, right? So there are times when even money fails. And so for those who think that I have money and that's all I need, is really something that was an eye opener for people to say that. So yes, Omkar, would love to hear from you. What are the opportunities for partnership that we can then build on before we go? And Sarabjit, yes, I would like you to just say a few words before you have to drop. I do know that is a you have a hard stop, but we'd like you to say just a couple of words before you go. Yeah. So Omkar, very quickly, so that we can bring Sarabjit in, and Sarabjit well enough to do that. So please go ahead.
So thank you, Karen, for bringing this together, and congratulations to you. I think before I start, there's one thing which I want to talk about, what Francis spoke about, stories from grannies, and that is, I think, the most important part of handing over the intergenerational wealth. And how can AI, when Mritunjay spoke about AI, how can we use AI for not getting replaced or not getting dumped as we see? So can we have AI, and I work in AI now. Can we have AI where I can hear your granny stories and Francis's granny stories and everybody's granny stories, bring in together? Can we work towards that? And that's a great, that culture we need to use that social capital. We use that AI for social capital. Coming to your question, again, tech becomes a very important part there. Like we had money, but we did not have understanding or information about people who had solutions. So that networking, while it was like during COVID, we said, Karen, we used to be the first. We used to take a lot of pride to say we are sharing resources, even when there are no resources, sharing money when there was no money. So that kind of collaboration was there, is there. That trust is there. But now what I see, knowledge. Somebody said knowledge is the new type of capital, and it's very important. Can we use AI? Can we use machine learning to bring this knowledge together? Like in a social capital, we see relationships, we see people norms, social norms, we see governance structures. Can there be a layer of these technologies, or AI, whatever we want to call it, which can be there to make sure that all of these are the hub and spoke diagram which we have, like everybody talks to each other, everybody knows who is doing what, who has what capacity. That capacity is important, and one disaster is going to destroy our generational wealth. So to ensure that it stays, these disasters become very important when we're talking about generational wealth. Sarabjit spoke about it, and he was the first speaker. I think I'm the last speaker, so it is a complete loop. We need to make sure that intergenerational wealth is protected from disasters. We need to have those mechanisms at human capital, social capital, all those levels. So that is something which is critical, and we need to build that system, which is not there at the moment. Families go in BPL after a disaster, in the below poverty line. That's we need to protect that. That system is not there.
No, absolutely. And that's just one example of where we could potentially collaborate and work together. And so just before Sarabjit leaves, I do want to start, and then of course we'll continue our conversation. And yes, let me get Mritunjay as well. Right. So I just want to kind of maybe spend a couple of minutes, and Sarabjit, maybe you can lead that. What is the opportunity for collaboration? How do we bring all this, wealth together, all these capital together to really create that wealth that we want for not just today's generation, but intergeneration, for the long term, for the system? Yeah.
May I?
Yes, please, please.
Yeah. Now, I think the stack of ideas is building up. For each and every speaker, from Percy to Shilpa, Francis, and my friends Omkar and Mritunjay, we work together a lot. So the whole stack is building up. Now, where I work in the UN system, I think we always talk about the impact. So what's the impact? And I think Shilpa gave us a wonderful line that we don't force impact.
Yeah.
We let it emerge. No? So I think there are lots of sort of good ideas from the past, which Francis spoke about in the stories. And one of the idea that I want to leave you with, I think everyone has heard about it, the 7th-generation principle of indigenous stewardship. So if you take a decision today, what is the impact that's going to be down the line in 7 generations to come? Now that's where the stories also pass on this whole idea very creatively. So we've got to build this internal commitment to this common good, which I think Shilpa spoke so eloquently about, that even the most abundant resources will vanish if we don't really build this commitment to the common good, as our good friend Philip Kotler would say. I remember he was the first one to speak at the RISE World Summit ever. Yeah. So I'm just remembering the very old times.
Okay.
So thank you so much, and thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much, Sarabjit, for
Such an
joining us.
enriching day today. Thank you.
We look forward to talking to you more. But thank you for making the time and joining us. And yeah, we will continue our conversation, but we'll miss you for that time. Yeah, thank you. So, as we said, as Sarabjit said, there is a lot that we can build on this, right? And one of the things that I do want to talk from a collaboration point of view is that. And there's so much happening with each one of us. The capability that exists in our projects, in our work, is phenomenal. And one example which we can really build on right away is what we are doing with SHEmantra and what Shilpa does. And if you see the SHEmantra logo, it says play your purpose, right? So as she said, it's not just, we started with human and social capital, but it has really gone far beyond that. And many of the SHEmantra members, community members, have actually offered their time as coaches, okay, pro bono to do work with startups and NGOs, yeah. Of course, we don't expect everything to be free in life, and it should not be, because there is a value that is being created. But even so, just to offer that whenever they can and whatever is possible, I think is a big, big opportunity of collaboration for us here, right here at the RISE PECOWorld Summit. And so I'm just sharing that as one example or one opportunity of where collaboration can be based on human and social capital and not really look at it from a point of pure financial capital. So, Shilpa, you might want, if you'd like to say some more on that, we're really happy to hear that. And of course, and anybody else who'd like to come in with what they feel are some opportunities for collaboration that they would like to see with others on the table as well as beyond the table. Because this will be going out on YouTube later on, and I'm sure there'll be others who will also get inspired to connect with you and work with you. Yeah. So, Shilpa, if you want to say a few words.
Yes, Karen, thanks for giving me a platform to share the SHEmantra story. I think what SHEmantra really represents is a social experiment of sorts as well, that can be really, in today's world, led by fear and scarcity and all things which really are giving us that anxiety every morning as we wake up. Can there be a new way of just waking up to abundance? Right, and creating that, and it starts with a feeling, and then it just dissipates into the universe as then a way to work together as well. So we have seen that happening almost magically at SHEmantra now, and it is succeeding across borders, so across continents, and across different cultural backgrounds. So I am seeing that there can be transcendence, where we can really bring in the purpose as an anchor, and then keep ourselves solidly anchored to that, which builds trust, because it's not one thing today and another tomorrow. So people then learn that there is safety and there is trust and there is a sense of belonging, which then actually creates the fertile soil for that collaboration to happen. So I think if we really can use whatever capacity we are in today to create ecosystems, which are small examples, so that people's faith comes back. Dr. Ela is hopeful that even that small NGO will not have to vanish and will not be starved of funds. There will be benefactors who will show up, right? Because there is a possibility of sharing the word widely outside of the world of the big financially strong organizations, right? So here, what I'm observing is that as the world is going to be aging, the coming decade will see most of our countries starting to age, and yet we will be living longer than ever before. So what we are creating is a huge pool of human capital who have lived their life in whichever way, but at the age of 50, 60, 70, even 80, are still looking for a purpose bigger than themselves, right? And they are looking at opportunities that they can be connected with, where they will be able to offer their contribution in making the world a better place. This will give them a reason to live. Their ikigai, which a lot of them haven't discovered even after being 30, 40 years working for a corporate in their erstwhile lives before they so-called retired. So my belief is that nobody needs to retire. We need to just evolve in finding that purpose that allows us to plug ourselves into any ecosystem, which then is looking at enabling the world to thrive together.
Yeah. So, Shilpa, I just hope listening to you, people are finding their purpose, and those who will listen to you later on also will discover their purpose. Because I think finding purpose in life perhaps is the single most pivotal moment, right? That really makes your life worth living, right? Because everybody says, what's the point of life otherwise? Thank you so much for saying that. I think it's great, great way to kind of give direction to us in terms of what should we be looking at, right? So, Percy, tell me from a point of view of opportunities for collaboration, do you have some thoughts? Do you have some asks? Do you have some gifts? I would love to hear that from you.
Yeah, I'd like to take this further from what Shilpa just said, that I think we need to incorporate the sense of purpose right from the times of school. Because right now, what is happening is everybody is in this mad rat race. Either you become an engineer, you become an MBA, you become a PhD, you become this, you become that. But unfortunately, is that what you really want? A child could probably be interested in sports, but he lands up becoming a doctor and he plays football with your heart. Okay, or you have an ophthalmologist who plays billiards with your eyes. So I think that is the fine connect that we need to look at. So we need to really look at the education system. And yeah, purpose is what will actually ensure that you wake up in the morning and look forward to something during the day. Look forward to that day. I know a lot of people who have nothing to look forward to. So then what does meaning mean to you? Life itself is meaningless because you never thought there is a meaning to it. So we are just blessed that we have a purpose, and yeah, we are driving that. And coming to your question, Karen, we try to network with our HR policy. I mean, it's a very unique kind of policy. People used to ask me, what kind of people are you looking for this kind of work? Because it is very specific. It's about restoring vision and to the underprivileged. So we drew up a very big HR policy. It has only 2 points. The first point is, do you have the skill? Because you're dealing with a pair of human eyes and mistakes are not allowed. You can't afford to make mistakes. Just because the patient is poor, just because he's underprivileged, doesn't mean that you can do what you want. So the first point is skill. The second point is even more important. Do you have the empathy? Do you really want to do something for underprivileged, or is your purpose to basically, build a bungalow in Dubai or Mauritius? What is your purpose? So once you have that in mind, that's where we started reverse engineering our platform. We said, let's look at people who deliver rather than those large, brands and names and whatever you call it, the celebs. I call it the Armanis and Gucci's of ophthalmology. We keep away from all of them. So that is how we have managed to kind of work in 8 locations, 3 states in India. And there's a huge, huge need. And we try to work in places where there's nobody willing to go. So that the level of satisfaction is very high.
Great, great.
Because we believe in a very simple philosophy कि वैसे भी हारे हुए हैं, जीत गए तो bonus. So sorry, I'll translate it for Francis, but I think he knows better Hindi than me.
Better than many people over here, let me tell you.
Yeah. So you start by the assumption that anyway you're a loser, but if you win, it's a bonus. And I think we are fortunate, we are blessed that I think the most difficult of sight restorative surgeries, reconstructive surgeries, we've managed, and we've managed to pull it off. We've managed to do it for the smallest, lowest strata of society. So that has worked for us.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Shilpa, I think we should take this back. Such a simple HR policy, right? Skill and purpose. End of story. There is
Yeah,
nothing really more
yeah.
than that.
In Hindi, you say skill
Right?
and dil, but I said empathy.
Fantastic, fantastic. Right. So, by the way, Francis speaks Hindi perfectly, and much better than me too. I can tell you that. So,
Interestingly, our mentors are based in
Sanskrit,
UK.
not even Hindi, Sanskrit. I should add that. Sorry, it's Sanskrit. Okay. So, yeah, really.
Interestingly, Karen, our mentors are based in UK, and it's a
Wow,
Britisher who speaks impeccable Hindi.
wow,
So I
wow.
was floored by that. So I'm not
Wow.
surprised.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I think, Omkar, from a point of, again, collaboration, right? Because that's the point now that we are looking at. What are the opportunities for collaboration, whether it's in disaster, whether it is, development, whether it is the human development nexus with disaster, where do you see the opportunities for either those on the table or the thoughts that have come from the table? How are you taking this back from a collaboration perspective?
I think collaboration for disaster, if you remember, collaboration for disaster cannot start during disaster. As a disaster manager, I always say collaboration has to be routine, as simple as having lunch every day. It had 20% or 10% of our time at the UN used to go, my time used to go 20% every day as to spend to build collaborations. You don't know why are you building it. You don't know why you, but having that network,
Yeah.
having that trust in people. It is simple. It's collaboration is simple. It's I mean, I know management gurus will give jargons, but collaboration simply for me means is can I trust X? Can I trust Caron to call her at 12 o'clock in the night and say, hey, there's a cyclone, and can you send me so many food packets?
True.
So that collaboration, it cannot. Your answer to your question is there is no opportunity, and there is only opportunity. Every day is an opportunity. Every moment is an opportunity. But one needs to invest that time. One needs to invest that effort to build that trust.
Yeah.
When I'm calling Caron knows that if I send 100 packets of food, it is going to reach 100 families, and it is not going to go here and there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Canon is also looking for people to send food, or to food is one option. I mean, yeah, it's
Yes, of course.
anything that I ask for. There are people who want to help. The society today is, we see all these websites, all those impact gurus, and all of the people want to help, but people don't know how to help.
How to help.
So from a disaster point of view, uh, from that point of view, it has to happen as a daily activity.
Absolutely.
That's my.
Very true. I think collaboration is an everyday thing. It's an every moment thing, because if you don't keep an open mind, if you're not, willing to think about other people, you're never going to be able to collaborate, right? Because it is not something that you plan for in that sense. It's something that just happens, and I agree with you completely. It is an everyday opportunity. It's not about a one-time effort. So thanks for really putting that spotlight on that piece, Omkar. So, Mritunjay, I'm going to ask you, how is AI going to help collaboration? What are we going to do, with building, creating assets that AI will enable even further? How do you see that happening?
Absolutely. And yes, so again, I'll take a step back and I'll since, as I mentioned, AI is an enabler. So it's not something by itself. So I will have to use the other capitals and see how AI can integrate them. So that would be my first take. If I start with the first one, human capital. So from each human, social, physical, and natural, I'll have one key element which AI can amplify or can integrate. From human capital, it would be skills. So skills is the element that AI would work upon, number one, and I'll explain how. And then within the social capital, it would be the network. And similarly, in the physical capital, it would be the infrastructure. And in the natural capital, I'm picking environment. There could be other more, but it's environment. Now, how would AI work? First of all, it's quite evident that AI can actually be used to accelerate learning and therefore skills. That's number one. And in this regard, I think we just had a conversation about how do we bring kind of different kind of stories into one place. So I'm just going to rephrase it into a new meaning, and that is cross-sectoral learning or transferable learning is crucially important now, because that is what will bring more wisdom and understanding of the world. That is something that I believe as of now AI is not doing it really well. So that's number one. From that, what the network can do, so the network will help amplify those skills. So then you have the opportunities for collaboration. So I actually started as an entrepreneur in the EV sector. Then I went to Niti Aayog, and then and now I'm working at UNEP. My entire education and experience has been in business, but somehow my boss and the team at UNEP, they have seen value in hiring me to work for a public policy organization or an intergovernmental organization. So this is an example of using an intertransferable skill. And similarly, I see, and I've heard stories of Starbucks and a few other, companies, especially of the Tata Group, that they don't hire CEOs from the industry that the company is in, because they bring a routine thinking. So these intertransferable skills and the wisdom that comes out from intersectoral understanding is really crucial and brings out fresh perspectives. So that's where AI does really well. And the networks help amplify those skills. The infrastructure, it sustains it, and the infrastructure helps scale it up, and the environment helps keep it in shape, or helps in sustainability of the entire thing. So again, my statement would be that AI is kind of the orchestration layer. It has a role to play in every capital. It needs to be understood in depth. I went into depth on the skills part, but in fact, on infrastructure and environment, we have had detailed, since I work in the environment sector, we have detailed conversations on how AI can enable, deep kind of work in the environment sector. But overall, it is the connecting link. In a single line, my takeaway would be that we build, so the humans, if they build the skills create value, and the networks help multiply it, the infrastructure scales it, and then the nature, it helps, bring sustainability or helps keep it for long term. So that's my takeaway. Thank you so much.
You really, really connected the dots, I must say. That was really, really well done. Thank you so much. Absolutely. So, Francis, yeah, let's come to, we're almost coming to the end of our time. But before we do that, of course, Francis, what do you think? What are the opportunities of collaboration? How do you think we should be collaborating, and what can we do so that we build intergenerational wealth?
Thank you, Karen. I have nothing much to add, because all the suggestions made so far have been very impressive, of course. Yeah. I would just simply ask your permission, Karen and dear colleagues, to bring the level down of what we are discussing to a somewhat smaller size. And I will let me explain you what I mean. I have been a consultant on many transformation and change tracks in organizations, in NGOs, in corporate world, and very change and growth. We have spoken of transferable skills and all these aspects of growth. Generally, people are a bit scared of this, sometimes the scope of what we want to transform and the scope of the partnerships that we want to build to sustain visions with such scope. This scope is so daunting that people scare away from it, and people think we can never do this, and what will my simple little contribution mean to a project or a venture so grand as this one, If you ask me, Karen, Francis, please contribute to saving the climate, stopping the climate change in the world. My contribution will be so insignificant that it will amount to zero, and by the sheer scope of this, I risk doing nothing. Yeah. So if we would permit ourselves to level down and focus a little bit on another level of partnership, I sometimes call this the Jugari level of partnership. Yeah. It has something to do with what Omkar said. Cooperation starts by having lunch together. You know, it's a simple thing. Yeah, and you don't even know why you're building that cooperation or the collaboration, but it will surface eventually at a given moment. There is a certain Jugari level, yeah, that starts with being a good neighbor. You know. Like I'm cooking and I have not enough ghee, and I knock on Shilpa's door and I ask Shilpa, you wouldn't have any teaspoonfuls of ghee for me so that I can oil my pan, you know? And obviously Shilpa will say, yeah, okay, lelo, you know, no problem, you know, and that level, you know. This is a level of cooperation and partnership that requires very little financial costs, very little financial capital. Yeah, it requires mostly what Sarabjit has introduced as the micro level, the personal ethics, basically. Yeah. And admittedly, you know, when I think of Jugar, it requires trust. It requires shared kahani, shared stories, you know. It requires, but it is something that already works. So on a Jugari level, the solution can always be found and applied immediately. Maybe the solution is not scalable. If my lending some spoonfuls of ghee from Shilpa's household would be, if I would consider this scalable, then I would send a truck to Shilpa's front door and steal all her ghee. You know? But this is obviously not the purpose. You know, it's not a scalable solution, but it will help me right here and right now for very little effort and very little expense. This is the kind of partnership, and obviously my story with the ghee and Shilpa is a metaphor. You know, what I would like to ask attention for is that partnerships are possible on very, very small scale. Very, very small. You know, I'm thinking of microloans, for instance. I've been working in the world of microloans for a while in Indonesia. You know, the difference between being a poor beggar and being a commercial baker is having a bicycle. You know, you bake your cakes at home as you always do, and if you would have a bicycle, you could deliver them in the neighborhood. You know? And all you need is a bicycle. Yeah, it's a very simple solution. You know? That kind of partnership, I think, is a major step towards all the kinds of partnerships that my esteemed colleagues have discussed on a higher level.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that was so beautifully put, Francis. And of course, Shilpa will give you the truckload as well, if I know Shilpa well enough. But you know, what you say is really something for us to think about, because it is the micro level at which change happens. Right, we see the change see the effect of those change at the macro level, which is what Sarabjit was talking about. But the actual action that will make that change move, the levers that are quietly moving, is really at the micro level. And so the tipping point is really achieved when all these small micro communities or micro changes all add up to create that tipping point. So it's a very fundamental part, and I'm so glad to be able to even say this at this point. It's a very fundamental part of the whole PICO model. We talk of the PICO tipping point, that when you create small picos, the pico circles that we talk about. When you create small pico circles where there is, virtuous work happening, changes happening, things that are happening, and which is almost invisible, I think that's when they all come together and create that pico tipping point. So yes, thank you so much for really closing on a topic or a point that is so profound in its simplicity, and requirement for all of us to think of it every day, starting with me, right? Because when we think of it from me and my situation and my requirements and how can I contribute, it slowly adds up to thinking about others, and then thinking of it as a collective, and then finally changing the world that we all kind of own. So really, that transaction from me to us. So we've come to the end of our time, and don't even realize how time flies. I'm sure if we had the opportunity, all of us could continue for easily another hour. But as we say, we have a limited time. I just want to maybe also share over here that, as a closing this thing, that, it's not that money is bad. We're not trying to say you don't need money or that money is bad, but how you make money and how you use money is really at the heart of capital collection and accumulation, right? If money is made well, then please do good by doing well. Do well by doing good, right? Is an amazing way to accumulate financial capital. And then what do you do with that, right? How do you find the purpose that drives you to use it in a way that serves others as well and gives you the satisfaction of knowing that you leave legacy behind because the work that you're doing or the contribution that you've made has been put to the greater good. I think these are really the key and the heart of what financial capital should be all about, because then you're creating true wealth. Right? You're creating true wealth in the different forms of capital that exist. And one last request from everybody as we get ready to close is that the Pico World is open for the go-to exchange. I'm sorry, we've had a couple of issues the last couple of days before we could go live, but I hope you will, bear with us, support us, and continue to work with us, not because it's perfect, but because we are trying to do the best we can, right? And we are going to get there and be perfect when all of us come together. So please go to the Pico World. There is a go-to exchange where you can just one-off offer something. Maybe it can be a coaching time, mentoring time. You can offer infrastructure. You can offer, food packets. You can offer whatever you like. And if you need something, like Ela, you were saying, then please put that also on this thing. So there are give opportunities, take opportunities. That's your go-to exchange. There are Pico nets. You can be part. And this is not replacing your existing communities, your existing WhatsApp group. You give the link to that so that people can join you where you are. So it gives you added visibility for what you are already doing. It is not duplicating that. I really want to make that so clear. We are not creating new communities, but asking you to give visibility to your existing communities on the platform so more people can collaborate and come to join you. And last but not the least is the Pico Circle, which is the specific project for which you're looking for resources, or you're looking for collaborators, or you're looking for better ways to scale it. So use this, because each of these spaces are meant for very specific needs, but also finally take you to becoming collaborators. So I think that's really the purpose of the Pico World. That's the purpose of this conversation, because we want to take the conversation to co-own change, right? And that's the ultimate objective with which we have had this wonderful, wonderful conversation. So thank you very much. Please give our experts here and thought leaders here a round of applause, because I think they really deserve that. And with that, we come to the end of today's conversation. Thank you so very much. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone.
I think normally we have a lot of questions, but I think
Thank you.
everybody was so taken with our leaders that nobody asked any questions at all. But thank you all very much. Yeah, appreciate it. Bye-bye. Bye.